Yeah, so it's our second year running. The last one was only in November, so it feels like a long time ago, but it wasn't actually that long ago. We've learned a few lessons from that. So this year we're doing it over 2 days, slightly shorter days, rather than trying to cram everything in 6 tracks. We've got 4 active tracks plus the community track, but it's split over 2 days. And we've got an international room, which will be running sessions that are not in English throughout the whole event. So it's first day and the second day. So we've got chunks of 3 hours of sessions in different languages: Japanese, Spanish, Portuguese, Hungarian, German, French. I think that's right. So that's really exciting, and not many conferences do that. So I'm quite excited that we've got a global presence coming to the event. We're using the same tool that we used last year. So we've got the virtual networking, we've got the different rooms that you can go into and watch what's happening in the rooms. We've also got a few other features which you'll have to wait and see, because I'm not going to tell you all the secrets. There's got to be some exciting things on the day. And we also will have a community room, and the community room is hopefully going to be run by team leads or people who are running initiatives or people who have ideas where they want to talk about something with the community. They'll have an opportunity to have a session in those in that room during the event, where we can bring people together and have chats about things like that. So that's the kind of the long and the short. It's on the 16th and the 17th of June, so it's very soon. And the 15th of June will be a training day, like we had last year. So there'll be 2 half-day courses from OS training, which you can pay to attend. They're very reasonable for what you get for the course. And that's aimed at beginners and intermediates. And then after that, we've got in the late afternoon, evening, we've got a 2-hour webinar from Acquia, which is going to be for the more advanced marketer, learning how to do more stuff with Mautic. You may or may not know that Mautic 4 is on the horizon. So we released the beta last week. We're probably not going to be able to release the release candidate as we expected, just because we've not had a lot of contributors helping us with testing. So the number one thing that I would love people to help with is testing the beta release. And if we have it by then, I'm not sure if we will, the release candidate, that would be amazing. And also testing, upgrading a development environment from 3 to 4 to make sure that works okay. There are some things you'll have to do, like you have to edit a line in your email themes. If you've got custom themes, just one line change to make sure it works with the new builder. But that would be probably the most helpful thing for people to do. If you have developers, we have some issues that we need help on. We particularly have a couple of tasks for the new builder that needs JavaScript experience. So anyone who has JavaScript experience who could help us with some very small, well-defined tasks, which we also have funding for, we would be really appreciative, because they're holding us back from making this release. So I would say if you've got Spanish speakers or other than English speakers, on Transifex, the last few releases, we've pushed a whole load of new language strings. So if you have translators who'd be willing to help work on that, I'm pretty sure Spanish isn't quite at 100%. So that would be a good task for people to do if they're not developers and they don't know Mautic, but they can speak English and Spanish. They could help us with translating those strings. That I just literally shared with the marketing team, because they're just in the process of creating all of the visuals and information. So from the user facing, we've got the new builder, which is for email and landing pages. So that will be turned on, hopefully, if we test and merge the pull request by default in Mautic 4. But you can turn it off and go back to legacy. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can if you need to. So with that, we've got a bunch of new themes, which are MGML. So that's the formatting language that we use for the builder. 4 new themes, so they're really nice, modern looking themes. We've got a tag management user interface now. So in Mautic, we use tagging quite a lot. Well, some people use tagging quite a lot. but there was nowhere to see all the tags that you've used, and there was nowhere to like quickly click and see the contacts who are using that tag. So that's coming, that's in the release already. What else have we got? A beta of the Mautic marketplace. So this is read only, you can't actually manage plugins yet, but ultimately when we finish the work on that initiative, you'll be able to use that to install and manage all of your plugins. But at the moment you can see stuff and you can give us some feedback on the layout and what you think about it and so forth. We've done a bunch of dependency updates to support PHP 8. That's not coming until probably 4.1. We just haven't had the time to finish that work. I have a database tab now in the settings so you can see your database version. We automatically detect the database version instead of assuming that you're using MySQL 5.7, for example. And yeah, some other bits and pieces. Just by feel, there's been a lot more interest in Mautic. We're seeing more people coming into the community, which is great. In terms of the actual number of people downloading, I'd have to like pull the numbers on that to see if there's any change. We can only track people who download through the download form. Obviously, we can't track people who download through GitHub or through other means. But yeah, generally, I feel like people are much more aware of the need to have a strong digital experience across channels. And they're much more aware of needing to automate stuff. So yeah, I think naturally people are experimenting more with Mautic. But the nice thing has also been the ecosystem that's springing up around Mautic. So we've got lots of agencies now who are running their own hosted versions that they offer to clients all over the world. You know, we've got our partners program of people, organizations who are contributing to the community and who run those, who provide services. So we're also having more ways to help people use Mautic, not only self-hosting. Self-hosting isn't the right option for some people. So I'm really pleased to see that as well, to see that there are options for people. The group in Lagos has been amazing. So Oliver Toby, who runs the marketing team, he started that up just over a year ago, and they have 400 people in their meetup group. They regularly get 20 to 30 people attending their sessions, and it's been fantastic. We've been using a platform called AirMeet, which allows you to do speaker sessions, but also have table-based networking, which people are finding really good. And other meetups just use Zoom. So we recently had one, which is an online like help desk meetup, where people can come and bring their problems or questions with Mautic, and it's facilitated. So you propose some questions and then the people who facilitate it will address it and see if anyone in the audience can help. So it's also bringing people together. And yes, today we've launched a Mautic meetup in Valencia. So yeah, it's great. And I'm hoping that once we are allowed to actually meet up in person again, we'll see more of these meetups coming up in local communities where there's several people who want to get together and share Mautic and tell people about it. First thing to do is to ask what their interests and skills are. So the reason I say interests and skills is because you might be really good at developing, but actually what you're really passionate about is something completely different. So we have the 5 teams in the community. So that we've got the community team, which deals with building and growing the community. So like meetup groups, events like MautiCon, they will come under community. Education, which is documentation and the forums and generally the resources available to help people. Legal and finance, which is like me and the Acria team, but I would love to have some more people help with trademark issues, with anything to do with like policies and law and managing the finances of the project. But that's probably the least interesting. But if you have accountants who want to contribute, come join us, or lawyers, you know, definitely. And then we have the marketing team. So they're involved with promoting Mautic outside of our Mautic bubble and inside of our Mautic bubble. So for people who don't know about us, but also making sure people know what we're doing and how we're progressing. And then the product team, which is the team that looks after the product itself. So that team is not just developers. People tend to think, oh, I'm not a developer, I can't get involved in the product team. We have people who are more interested in product marketing who help us in the product team. We need users of Mautic who can give us really good feedback on what needs to be in the product or what isn't quite right in the product and needs to be changed. You know, those people are just as important in that team as the developers themselves. We desperately need developers and people who can do code review as well. That's quite a small team of people doing an awful lot of work at the moment. So it's a case of figuring out what you're interested in and then joining one of the team channels on Slack. And every 2 weeks, they'll have a team meeting where you can see what they're working on. And you can just say, hey, I'm interested in helping with this kind of thing. Is there anything I can work on? And I guarantee you there will be something. If not, we'll find you something. For us, we use Slack for real-time communication, for team meeting, for chatting about things. We absolutely don't use Slack for support. And that was a really hard thing to start with. People were quite frustrated because we kept saying, please post on the forums. You know, like I felt like it was my mantra for the first 6 months. But the reason for that is the forums are indexed by search engines. If people have a problem, usually the first thing they do is throw the error code into a search engine, and they will often find the response and the fix in that message, in that forum thread. So the forums is where you go for support, basically, or for help with stuff. There's a Spain and a Spanish forum there, so you can post questions in Spanish, and then that will come up when you're searching in Spanish in Google or whatever your search engine is. So those are the two main things. I would say Slack is for chat, for community stuff, for working on projects and things like that. Forums is the place to go for help with stuff. And team meetings generally are asynchronous on Slack. So we post the agenda items and then you respond in the thread, which makes it easier for people who are not in the same time zone, but it also makes it easier if English isn't your first language, because you're not having to respond in real time. You can actually take the time to read and respond, take the time you need. So yeah, I find that really helpful, actually. But those are the two main channels. We do have the documentation. The knowledge base as well has got some really great articles, particularly one on getting started. If you're new to Mautic, it takes you through everything you need to do your first campaign, basically. It always comes down to having someone who wants to actually do it and start it and run with that project. We're all very, very stretched at the moment and just don't have the capacity to do it. So we have all the infrastructure there. We have the tools there. We have the tools to do streaming, but we need people to actually step up and say, hey, I'll do a monthly stream on XYZ, testing pull requests or what's new in Mautic or whatever. We also now have our own Mautic instance, so we can actually do email marketing. Hooray! It's been tough. So I suffer anyway with seasonal depression. So from October through to March, it's a struggle, but it's even more of a struggle when I can't do the things that keep me healthy, like not being able to go to the gym, not being able to see friends, not in person anyway. So it's been a struggle, but it's also been a struggle like not meeting up with you folks, not being able to go to events and actually meet the community. Because I think online is great and working together on projects and stuff like that virtually is great because it is much more accessible to people who can't travel. But for me as well, there's something about actually meeting up with people, going to events with people, you know, I've really missed that. I've really missed that side. And here in the UK, things are slowly starting to get back to normal. So they're talking about the 21st of June being the day that everyone takes off work because there's no more social distancing or anything, and you can go to the pub and you can do whatever you like. So I'm just crossing my fingers that that does actually happen. But I know a lot of places are also not in that situation yet. So for us, it's been about 2 years because I got COVID in March March when it first started, very early. So yeah, it was a struggle. And it was also a practical struggle. My partner and I are both very noisy. I'm very untidy, and we were working back to back in an office for 1.5 years. That puts a strain on any relationship, you know. Very patient, but I think he's very glad I'm back in my office. Everyone should obviously come to Mautic Conference Global. It's only $5 a ticket. Give what you can. So if you can afford more, then please do pay more for your ticket, but $5 is the entry rate. So we'd love to see you there. It's going to be a really great event. Probably the main thing is Next Generation Mautic, which is one of our strategic initiatives that will be starting once Mautic 4 is released. And that's a really big project. So when Mautic was created, it was created with the small business in mind. And it was created as you would with any startup, creating software quickly. You know, it was quickly created, wasn't necessarily created to be used at scale. So one of the big issues that we're finding is as people use Mautic and they grow their business and things start to get really popular and busy, they're bumping up against problems with the fundamental product because of the way it's been built. So the Next Gen project will be addressing some of that, the fundamental issues. But we'll also be looking at some other things like having a front end that is written in Angular probably, that's completely decoupled. So we're trying to move towards Mautic being something that you can just drop into your existing stack and it will integrate with everything. And you can roll your own front end if you want to use your own front end. You could use your own customer data platform if you wanted to use that rather than keeping all the data in Mautic. So we're trying to move towards that. So if you want everything that comes with Mautic, great. But if you want to take bits out and use your own stuff, you can. In terms of functionality, there are all kinds of things that we can do. It's just we need people to help us with doing them and come up with the ideas to do them. So if someone thinks it's great to have a plugin for a chatbot, that probably wouldn't be core, that would be a plugin, but they can propose that and we can give feedback on how that might work in Mautic and help people with, you know, reviewing that from that perspective. With the Mautic marketplace, that's going to make it even better because people can literally see all of your plugins and they can click to install them within Mautic. So they don't even have to go and find the right GitHub repository and all that stuff. They can do it within Mautic. So I feel like it's going to be a great opportunity for developers who want to create those kind of exciting things to actually be able to do those and have a good audience to be able to take those up. Yeah, and themes as well. You know, we've had some really great themes submitted for the new builder. But because themes are also decoupled in the same way as plugins, we'll be able to manage those through the same interface. So you'll be able to look in the marketplace and be able to pick the themes that you want to use rather than just the ones that come with Mautic. So it's a whole industry that I think is a real great opportunity for people to get into now because of the way that we're going with the product. If people want to join our Slack instance, you can get an invite at mautic.org/Slack. And then you'll be able to get in and you'll be able to join all of the team channels that I was mentioning. And Mautic 4 is the channel where we're doing the work on the current release. Super excited to hear it all happening.